It is October 11, 2025, and we have just seen a massive correction in the markets. They got started by Trump talking about the tariffs with China. There's tariffs wars again, but we have seen that quite often this year, and typically what happens, we see the rebound, right? And I just know that a lot of you are hurting right now, a lot of you are very worried, so this video is very timely. I will tell you that overall, even though my thumbnail here is a little bit red, overall I have a very positive position, and I am making this video to let you know you are safe in crypto if you have the correct expectations. And the expectations that I think you should have are the expectations of someone who understands that we are in the midst of an enormous wealth transfer in history. We are slowly changing the way the world finances and the world economics are shaping up. And that is just something that's gonna need time. I want you to actually think about the situation in 5 years, 10 years, rather than 5 days or 5 weeks. And yes, you have to have a plan for, well, what is next month, right? But what is also important is to really do this journey from the perspective, in my opinion, of a mid to long-term investor. You hear a lot of people screaming right now who have lost a lot of money because they are short-term investors, short-term traders. And actually those who lose most of their money are the ones who borrow money to then trade. And when the trade goes in the wrong direction, they not only lose their capital, but they also lose the money that they put up as collateral to borrow the money. We call that leverage trading. And I've been a leverage trader in the past. It wasn't sustainable for me. I had quite a hard time being consistently profitable, which is when I really stepped back and said, okay, I love crypto. I know that Bitcoin is the future of the world's finances and the world's economics, and I'm going to be part of this journey in a sustainable and healthy way. And quite frankly, that means you bank on Bitcoin and you understand what its trajectory is very likely going to be in the long run. And I know there are cycles. I know that we are currently in a bull run and that we expect the cycle to end and then we see a drawdown. Yes, I know all of that. And that is important. Of course, we don't want to be blind. But I also know that no matter what happens, the direction is to the right and up. And while we are going through the motions, you can either do the very crazy and high risk day trading and make a lot of money or lose a lot of money, or you can just steadily accumulate an asset that is absolutely superior, which is Bitcoin. While we go through the ups and downs, if you want to do a little bit more than just accumulating, you can also actually provide capital to the markets, which is what I do, which is known as liquidity provisioning. Liquidity providers take advantage of the volatility and of the traders jumping in and out of coins, and they collect fees along the way. Now, you gotta have thick skin, because when you are a liquidity provider, your capital at work will go up and down with the markets. And if you can't take that, then it's not a good space for you. So that's essentially, people ask me all the times, how should I get started in crypto? And the simplest way is just to dollar cost average Bitcoin. And then going a step even further is to be a liquidity provider. I think it's phenomenal because yes, the capital that you deploy fluctuates heavily, but along the way you collect fees and you can cash flow. You have an income. And that is something I really rely on heavily. my long-term Bitcoin positions, and then the liquidity positions. I do not trade with leverage anymore. Maybe sometimes I do a small exception when I see a phenomenal chance, but that is really, really very rarely. I want to look at the Bitcoin chart now with you. Let's do that together. And then we're going to talk about the perspective that you can have in days like these, in days where Bitcoin dropped from 120,000, I think 122,000, to right now 112,000 in just basically overnight, right? So let's see what kind of perspectives we can have when we are faced with this situation. So this is Bitcoin ever since 2018. And I'm gonna make this very simple for you right now because you have two ways of looking at this. You have the way of saying, okay, we were here yesterday and now we are here. So you can focus on that. You can also be very aware of the market cycles where you say, well, yeah, there's a bear market, there's a bear phase of the cycle here where the price of the Bitcoin drops, right? I've indicated that here in the color red, but you can also say, yes, that is all true, but there's also this here, which is to the right and upside in the long run. Now I want you to see we're looking at several years here. We are 2025 right now, and just going 5 years back, right? 5 years back in 2020, if you had started your journey in crypto there, you would have gone through this down here, and then you would have rode up the wave to here, and then you would have gone down here, and now up again. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that we can either focus on the green or on the red. And I want you to really focus on the green, to be quite frankly, because yes, the red happens and it will happen whenever this cycle ends, which could be very, very soon or not. If this the theory of the super cycle holds true, then we don't see these violent breakdowns anymore. But what matters is that, at least for me, that matters is that at the end of the day, if I don't panic and I don't sell my coins and I just steadily hold and accumulate, then I think this is just a blessing. It's something we can be grateful to be part of. So, well, some of you are going to say, yes, that is all nice, Shankar, but I don't really want to hold on to my coins during the drawdowns. I don't want that. To me, it makes no sense. I want to ride up the wave and then sell somewhere at the top. When is that somewhere at the top reached, right? And that is where nobody has a crystal ball to really predict that. We have lots of experts online who talk about when is the cycle over, and there are a set of indicators. And I have a private community where I talk about these indicators a little bit more often. But one indicator that is fairly easy to look at, and that has also proven itself fairly accurate, is just to see, well, when is the price of Bitcoin above the 50-day moving average? So whenever the price of Bitcoin is above that, then we are in safe territory. When the price of Bitcoin is below the 50-day moving average, then maybe we are in that phase where we see the drawdowns. And given the timing of the cycle right now and us being in the last quarter of this cycle, it could very well be that we are close to that. So let's take a look at that together. What I will put on this chart now is the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. So here they are. The 50-day moving average being in red and the 200 being in green. And as you can see, each time we are going below the 50-day moving average, that is for sure a time where the so-called bear market is at play, right? So we have that here. Actually, let me go on the daily view. There we go. So we have that here. That is definitely the case here, right? And then we had it here, and we had it here. So I want you to focus on the red curve. Now, of course, this is all in the past. What happens if we go and look at where we are now? So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So definitely we have Bitcoin under the price of Bitcoin under that 50-day moving average. So if it stays here for a bit longer, and specifically I would also say if it loses this level here, which is a support level, then it may be wise for those of you who don't want to expose themselves to the bear market drawdown, it may be wise to take your profits and then see how far we go, right? So what is that price point here? Let's take a look together. What is the price point? It is, yeah, let's make it easy, $100,000. If Bitcoin drops below $100,000 and stays there for a while, like for a few days, then it would be wise for those of you who do not want to expose themselves to holding through the bear market to convert your Bitcoin into stablecoin or sell it and then see how far down do we go, right? Because as you can see, I'm going back to the weekly view and turn off this indicator here. Okay, so as you can see, what happens is that we have Bitcoin going up and then going down to roughly, okay, so let's say you were here, super euphoric, and then the bear cycle starts, it goes down back to roughly the lows of the previous cycle, right? See, that is about here, give or take. And then let's say you were here, super euphoria, and then the bear phase happens. We go down to again here. So which is the level or it's actually the highs of the previous cycle, I should say. So here, and now we are here. And how far down could it go? Well, the high of the previous cycle would be here. So that would take us to give or take 60,000. Yeah, but again, you get to choose whether you want to play this game of selling high, buying low and selling high, or whether you want to just hold on to your Bitcoin and know that in the next 5 years, no matter what happens right now, very likely Bitcoin will be close to $1 million for Bitcoin, because we are in this midst of a shift of how everything works, how finance works. I think it is a blessing to know about crypto, to be exposed to it. I think for most people, it is very prudent to only expose a certain percentage of the portfolio to crypto because they are not positioned to go through this extreme volatility. They're not positioned for that. And at the end of the day, again, being completely transparent, I live this crypto lifestyle, and it is sometimes not easy on the nerves because you have to have thick skin. You have to be okay with the volatility. It's absolutely part of it. If you cannot stand it and you cannot take it, then you need to not be in crypto. But if you want to be exposed to crypto and you want to do it without losing sleep, then dollar cost average, or only buy as much crypto as you can afford and then go on with your life. Don't look at the price until you're ready to cash out in 4 or 5 years. And again, for those of you who say, well, I do want to be a little bit more active, then what I can only highly recommend is being a liquidity provider. I really like that being a liquidity provider, you take advantage of other traders going in and out of coins and you collect the fees. Again, you have capital at work and your capital at work will fluctuate with the markets, but you also have constant income. If that is of interest to you, then go and join my mailing list. You'll see there's a landing page. It has a 4-part video series that teaches you the basics of everything that I do for free. And yeah, I definitely want to show myself today, my face, because I know that I usually speak, I'm a Bitcoin hyper, right? But on days like this, it is also important to show up and to say this is also part of it. But there's nothing to, this is not the end of the world, right? Absolutely not. This is part of crypto. We know these moments always come, and while we are all shocked today, probably in 2 or 3 weeks we're all like super euphoric again. Okay, that's my message for you today. Hopefully none of you were over invested, over leveraged, and I'll see you in the next video.